Hey, it's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week from the 5th of April to the 11th of April. Although one of them is not in that time frame, but we'll get to that. I wanted to shout out, first of all, this. I obviously didn't watch the whole thing, but I just wanted to call attention to official Sonic X top 10 Knuckles episodes, the English dub from like TMS's official channel. They're the ones who have the the license for this show. They're just there's just full episodes of the dub, the 4Kids version, uninterrupted, and it's in a weird format too, because like the videos in the videos in 16:9, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check that. But the videos in 16:9, and then then they have like a card that has like the title of the episode under it, and then like a logo, and then in a smaller screen is the episode. So it's like it's weird. It's just weirdly structured and formatted, I guess. Yeah, like it's in 16:9, and then they have the two black bars, and then they have like a title card of sorts, the background and stuff. Oh my god, and I just noticed the fucking quality is uploaded in 360p. And the thing is too, they've been live streaming this the whole time for like days now. The same but it's like, what, days? It's only 10 episodes, right? Yes, it's the same 10 episodes just played over and over, and they're not even in like a top 10 kind of order. There's just 10 episodes, and it's it's ordered sequentially, so like episode 3, then 5, like it's 3, let's see, I'm just going through the 5, 17, all the way up through the 78 episodes. And so I clicked through some of them just to be like, okay, so I'm not like super familiar. I did watch Sonic X, but I don't remember too much, right? And some of the episodes don't even feel like they're really dedicated Knuckles episodes, or maybe they have one good Knuckles moment. Like this one episode 30, Heads Up Tails. It's like, that's not even like, I mean, that's a nice pun, first of all, but like, that sounds like it's just a, it's just a Tails focused episode, but it was during like the chaos arc. And then one of the other episodes is Flood Fight, which is the episode with, the fully evolved form of Chaos and Sonic turning into Super Sonic. What does that have to do with Knuckles? I mean, he's in the episode, I guess, and maybe he has a moment or something. But then there's other episodes, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. It's a good Knuckles episode, kind of centric and stuff. But, like, it was weird. It was almost making me think, like, wait, do you not even have 10 episodes you can properly give that are, like, good Knuckles episodes? So I was like, so that was interesting. I didn't watch the whole thing, of course. It is what it is. It's 10 uninterrupted. I think there's some uploads. The one I have on Digest is like just 3 hours, and I think it's just all 10 episodes. But there's been other ones where it's been like 7 hours of nonstop playing these Knuckles episodes. It's kind of bizarre, but interesting. Kind of a cool thing happening on YouTube, I guess. All right, and now from the videos that I thought were decent, pretty good. Although this one has like 2 caveats, not just 2. It's from SlimeFancypants. It's because somebody added me on Twitter of like calling me attention to this video because I wasn't subscribed to him, and he uploaded this big 2-hour Bleach video, and I had just like exported Digest and stuff like that, so I'm like, I feel bad. That's kind of a big deal, for someone, and he's never really uploaded anything that big before. I liked how he phrased it in the video towards the end. He's like, this is the longest thing this is the longest time I've spent on anything in my life, or something like that. It's not even just longest video, but just it seems like it was even bigger in that way. So that was interesting. That was fun. And the other kind of caveat I have to have, I didn't watch the full video. I skipped the time chat. Thank you for time stamping it. The 1,000-year Blood War chunk, because I haven't seen it yet. I'm an anime only for Bleach, and I was waiting for it to be, because I started it in 2020 around that time where it was confirmed to be coming back. I think it was 2021. I don't remember. well, it was 2020 when it started, and I guess at that time we knew that Thousand Year Blood War was getting more anime. It just hadn't had a PP yet. So like I knew that, and I was like, great, so I'll check out the anime and stuff. Otherwise, I would have read it. I'm not much of a manga guy though, you know what I mean? But he mostly focuses on the manga and the kind of the whole story in that way. But the anime, he gives one section of the anime kind of towards the end, after he's gone through all the story stuff. You know, and it's kind of typical, like complaining in similar points that have been brought up in other videos and stuff. But then the bulk of the video is pretty much plot and not summary, kind of just going bit by bit. And you know, one thing that was kind of refreshing about the video was he didn't like everything. And the thing is, because it's a retrospective, unlike because it's a retrospective, he has to talk about things and he's very upfront of like that he's a character, I guess. And I didn't like that part. Skip, or not to skip, but like clearly didn't care. You know, he's very vocal of certain characters and elements and periods of time that he wasn't as much of a fan of. Although, like, I was dreading you getting to Fullbring because everybody hates Fullbring, right? And the way you were talking about it and how like you weren't as big of a fan of a Ronkar arc got me feeling like, oh boy. You know, I was like, oh no. You know, and that could have made it more of a typical video. It's like, geez, you're making all this big theatrics and big video, and it's just ends up being kind of whatever. But like, thankfully, the Fullbring was more of a defense type of thing. So I appreciated that. Although it wasn't like the most eloquent sort of defense. You know, a lot of this was okay. I don't know. It was all right, and I think still your humor and the delivery and the kind of the actual aesthetics of the video, I think, were really well worth the time. I think you did put the effort with like panel composition and things like that. A couple of mangamations here and there. It was really nice, and again, not that, you know, it was trying to be as thorough as possible, but it wasn't. There was a Naruto video that I could have watched this week. Well, I did all the way through, and I finished it, and I was like, "What the fuck was that?" And I don't get a fucking thing out of it, you know, because there's so much shonen, battle shonen. I don't know what it is about these stories that people have to like put up a fucking dissertation, collegiate big word, and like the theme. I don't know why we have to get so fucking serious about these stories, and I'm not trying to downplay them at all, but it doesn't make them accessible. It doesn't make that interesting, you know. And I was happy that this video felt like really grounded and kind of like approachable, you know, like you're discussing this with a friend who's never seen Bleach before, type of thing. You're describing it, you know. That was nice. I do appreciate that even though it doesn't lead to this lofty kind of thing, besides its breadth for how much you're talking about and its length, really. But it's still kind of nice. It's kind of a chill time. It ultimately doesn't feel like 2 hours, even though it's hard for me to say that because I didn't watch all 2 hours of it, you know. But you know, I think it's sort of like, yeah, I'm just filling words, I guess. You know, actually, one thing I wanted to say about it that reminds me of, I'm off scripted. You know, I say that all the time, and I always use it as a way to lampshade when I'm being redundant or not as interesting, because I don't cut anymore. Not that I don't cut. It's just like I just ramble a lot more, and I'm not as nervous on camera or whatever, or afraid to look like a bumbling fool. No, but there's something with your video in a couple places reminded me of that, like, this idea with like video essay cliches, and I'm not trying to be who's cliche. I don't really like dealing in those. I like seeing tropes, and I like seeing the things that give me the same feeling I had from these other stories. You know what I mean? I like hearing that, but there were certain moments, and I did tweet about this, so I did subtweet your video, and I'm sorry, where I think you were describing that one of the OSTs is "Now You Feel the Number," you know, that insert song, And you're like, it didn't have to go this hard. And I'm like, yeah, it did, actually. That was what it was made for. It's for hype. And I don't, like, it was just kind of weird, you know? I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it didn't have to. Yes, it did, if it was going to be memorable and effective, and a reason you're giving a, you know, a positive impression on the anime's soundtrack, right? You're bringing it up. It's a contributing factor. I don't know. That was weird. But like, a lot of people say that, and I saw some people's replies was like, it works for like reaction content, where like, if that's the thing you're thinking of, right? But it's kind of a meme, right? And so to me, it's like, I would have liked that you go a little more descriptive, or even not even just kind of leaning on them. I know it's a joke, right? It's not a big deal or anything, but that was something that stood out to me. And it was just sort of like, yeah, you know, but it wasn't as bad. Sorry to again subtweet this one Naruto video. It wasn't as bad as this one line from this other Naruto video that like I lost my shit. It was so bad. Like, not in a, it's fine, but it's just sort of like completely unrelatable. The audio, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, very flowery. I can't even quote it to you, and I don't want to quote it in case they you know, you know. But you know what I mean? It's, you just kind of like elevated. It's like, ugh. I don't know. But this is just me. That's coming from somebody who is in the process of making a similar video to yours, where it's big. And about this big popular show and everything like that. I really appreciated the intro talking about zombie powder. I liked that observation. I know some people have probably talked and made it before. You know, there's entire channels who are just Bleach channels, pretty much, right? And like, they've talked about this for a long time, and be very thorough about it. So it made me be kind of like, well, you didn't have to go that thorough with sort of like, just, you know, that little section where it's like, Orihime, da 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 da, Uryu, da 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 da. And so you had the obligation to get to Chad, and you're like, really? He doesn't get a whole lot. And, you know, I think it kind of detracted from your video for me personally. Not that I'm a big Chad stan or anything like that. I kind of agree with you. But it's sort of a, down. And but at the same, like I said earlier, I guess it's sort of a upend to the video, or just or upside, because it's not as like flower, you know, glowing heaps of whatever. I think it's candid and also unexpected, because maybe there's some things you don't like, and it's surprising in that way. But then, you know, I found myself disagreeing with you a lot with other places and stuff, and that's just is what it is. In terms of like the Arrancar saga being the same as Soul Society, it's I don't like, I'm not a fan of that observation personally. I think it's very shallow and short-sighted, I think. Anyway, things like that, but that's not like a big, like, big critique on your video, because like you said, in that particular part, a lot of other creators have made that same observation. But then it's like, if you know that, why then are you making it yourself? Like, you know, try to be a little more additive, especially if you seem to have a pulse on what other people have talked about. I like all the times where you're showing all these different articles of everyone saying Ichigo's a poor like a bland character or whatever, and I liked your defense of him for that. Those aspects were nice too. Yeah, I don't know, but just and then like the structure of it, just kind of going through the story and almost retelling it in a sense, was fine, but it's sort of just kind of I guess it's retrospective, right? I guess that's kind of like the name of the game, but you know, I think at this point there's a lot of people probably have done stuff like this, and if you end up bringing your perspective, like the first time you saw Bleach and like, oh, I got into it via the, I was willing to watch all the episodes because of how good the first opening was, and things like that are really interesting and unique to you. You know what I mean? So things like that are really good. But you know, congratulations on such a big releasing such a big video and finishing it. You know, it's a awesome feeling. And you know, obviously when you have such a big thing and you could spend on this for a long time, and you might be there's certain things where you're not as proud of them, or certain things like that. It happens that way. But yeah, I really enjoyed the vid. It was cool. I did check out this OtakuDreams video. I don't know if I've talked about their channel yet. Princess Nine, Girls with a Baseball Dream. And yeah, not many people talk about Princess Nine. I haven't seen it myself, but it's been on my radar, of course. So I was, I see this thumbnail, I'm like, oh shit, okay. I'm way more hipster. I think I'll get more attracted to the not so popular things that won't get that many views compared to the popular one, like a Dress Up Darling video. I'm like, I guess if it's like a person I want to hear that particular take from, I guess. But yeah, I'm weird like that. So I appreciate you talking about this series, and I liked how constantly present you were in terms of like your personal experience, and you're making videos and things like that. And I was like, oh, I haven't been watching anime I haven't completed an anime in a long time, and things like that. Like that, again, like I said earlier, for SlimeFancypants, that's like thing that's specific for you, you know what I mean? And it's your perspective, and that's interesting. The one thing I also get how short it is. I think it's nice. I was just reflecting on it before I recorded Digest, kind of scrolling through. I am getting a little kind of over really long videos, and that's a little bit of shade on the last video I just watched, which is 2 hours, but then also a little hypocritical of me because I'm working on a big 3-hour video, and I get it. I just think that it's so easy to just kind of ramble, and how much is it warranting that length, right? And so being curt like this is nice, and I appreciate, and I envy it in places, really, because that means you can just keep releasing videos, you know what I mean, while several of us slave to this big thing or whatever. I guess it's different priorities, but something I was a little I wish could have been better. For one thing, I think the visuals, there's something about where like you keep cutting away to other footage of other things, and that's kind of like, yeah, you're talking about yourself or other things, but like with the Princess Nine video, with this show, nobody talks about this show, right? And so how many of I haven't seen much footage besides the cover, and maybe I've seen the OP or something, or anybody can kind of look up the OP, or like but this feels like it's only taking from the first episode. It's like you took footage from first episode, episode 1, and that's the only footage you're using for this whole video. And that's okay in places, right? Especially like if you're talking about something briefly. Heck, I don't even download a whole episode of something if I'm not gonna talk about it in length, right? I'm just gonna look up a Sakugaboru clip. But like, I think this is this kind of a missed opportunity where you could be showing people who have never seen Princess Nine kind of what you liked about it, and show those physical moments, and not just like the image, like a still image of all the characters, and tell about how cool the characters are. Show us, kind of like go out of your way and have the whole series get downloaded. It's only like 26 episodes, I think, right? It's not like 100 or something. Not like a big arduous task like Naruto or whatever. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's 26 episodes, so it's like, it would be a lot, sure, and you're gauging how much investment you want to spend the time making the video, but I would have really liked to hear details about each character, like what is their name, and like what's one thing about them, sort of. You don't have to do that for all 9 characters, I'm not saying that, and you already have the synopsis at the beginning, and that's fine too, but just even like single out certain characters, like I love this character, she does this funny thing, and you show us that funny thing, in the footage, instead of just like the poster a bunch, the OP. You know what I mean? And there is some clips, there is footage of it, but like I was having, it came off to me, it's just like, this just seems like stuff from episode 1. So I think if you kind of, even in the visual component, like you can keep it short, even the things that you say, it's pretty serviceable and fine. But even just showing me things that convinces me to watch it, because seeing it, in a new way is sort of the additive, a potential additive thing that this video could have. You know what I mean? So that's what I would suggest. But otherwise, I'm very happy you're talking about something this obscure, and I just like your vibes of just kind of like put out a small video and very casual, and it's just nice. It's just nice, you know. It's because all of us are taking it way too seriously sometimes. Me too. But yeah, cool vid. There's two double whammy. I'll probably put like above the two of them or smaller. I don't know. Kevin Nyaa and Kaze Talks both put out a clan ad video, particularly talking about the Kyo chapter. I think it's an OVA, right? I'm pretty sure it is. I only watched original and after story, and so I don't remember this. It is an alternate route, right? So it's sort of like an OVA exploring a different harem route kind of thing, and that's cool. And they're each kind of talking about it generally and kind of analyzing it in their own special way. And you know, Kaze was the one that reached out to Kevin because Kevin is big in, you know, Kyoto animation and clan ad and stuff, has made videos on it. So being able to kind of highlight this particular aspect, and it's actually really neat. I like the kind of the premise to this OVA or this special, I guess. As someone who only watched the original clan ad and after story, you know, I think a lot of fans probably can relate to that. I think that's really interesting. You know, one thing that was kind of a little weird with this collab, and I've probably seen this happen before. I feel like maybe Inumanji and Kraftsdorf may have done this before, or I don't know, or I don't remember how Isla and Beyond Ghibli's collab went. I don't know how they structured it, but this maybe this is common. But there was something about this was just a little weird to me, because I get you're releasing two separate videos at the same time. Shush, I'm going. I get you're releasing videos at the same time, but so it's like, how do you don't want to have like a part 1 and part 2, and you want to watch in a particular order. You want them to kind of like watch them on their own and maybe check out the other person's video or something like that. And the way they do it here is kind of like they split both of their videos in half, and then they have their first half in their version of their video, the one that they upload, but then each of their part 2s are in the other person's video. And I can see the strategy in that, but I watched Kaze's first and then Kevin's. And I think it was actually good to do Kaze's first, because he actually does more articulately explain what the premise is, and then like what the gist is. Like, this girl is this, and this girl is like this, but then they do this. You know, he makes it more very transparent of what's going on and kind of the cool thing about it. But then like this narrative he's running with of near perfect, it's not like Kevin is picking that up. They're both kind of writing their own scripts about it, and Kevin's continuing the analysis that the very close scene by scene kind of analysis that he's doing on his video in the first half. Then the second half is Kaze's part, where he's like, that's why it's near perfect, you know. And it's like, interesting. And so it's like they could have just but it's not really a collab. I mean, I guess it's a collab in a way, but it wasn't so much that, like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they were probably sharing scripts with each other, and maybe they were like, that could work too. But it wasn't like Kaze's adding this particular idea or this through line or taking over this part. You know, one thing I thought could have happened as I was watching it, or just this particular subject of Kyo and Ryo, I was thinking it was just like, and of course, I don't want to be like, should have done this or something like that, but like a potential idea is like coming at it from two different angles, where Kaze talks about Kyo and Kevin talks about Ryo's perspective, and they just each one focuses on that particular character, and then the understanding of the two of them is getting the whole picture as a whole, maybe. Just one idea. But it was sort of weird, because especially in Kevin's video? Yeah. Where like there wasn't a transition. It just started on Kaze's part. I'm pretty sure Kaze had like, and now pass it over to Kevin. And then Kevin talks about his thing. And it was a little more, even though Kevin wasn't quite talking about what Kaze was just talking about, there was still like kind of a layup and like passing the ball, you know? But that for Kevin's video, it was just like, suddenly Kaze's talking now. And it's like, okay. And that, again, it wasn't too bad. It was okay. And again, I like kind of the analysis and the featuring of this OVA, and I think analysis, both of theirs seem really sound. And I like that the two of them kind of contrast each other almost, where like Kaze seems a lot more upbeat and energetic, and Kevin is a lot more subdued and specific, and also Kaze has more of an overview and kind of like bigger picture, and Kevin has more like little details and scene by scene type of thing. I think Kaze does that too in places. But I don't know. I just felt the contrast in that, and that's nice. I actually really like that. It doesn't feel like you're watching a redundant video and just two people are uploading the same, a similar video on the same subject. You know, I just feel like the splitting in half didn't quite work for me in this instance, and I would have wanted to see more of a meshing sort of thing, but. Maybe I'm just being too demanding. I probably get that. I'm too ambitious for my fucking AFV collab is the whole fucking thing. Jesus Christ. What was I thinking? But yeah, I like that. And of course I always want to highlight collabs on Digest because you rarely see them, and it's awesome. I'm very happy to see that. I was steered my way towards a video by Foundation of Economic Education. Hayao Miyazaki is right. War makes us monsters. And, you know, it was okay. You know, it was funny. I think the title and thumbnail and seeing what the other videos this person has made made me think that, like, oh, this is gonna go really hard. They're gonna like bonsai pop like we are anti-fascist. Not like that. I don't know. It felt like it was gonna be stronger, but this was really just sort of an analysis of Miyazaki's three of Miyazaki's films. It was Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, and Wind Rises. And I think it was justified for pretty much all three of those. Although it made me keep that because there was one point where they mentioned like you should check out Ghibli's entire catalog, and I'm like, yeah, including Takahata's, which has Grave of the Fireflies as an example. Maybe a bit stronger maybe I don't know. But like I still think that it was worth choosing these three films for that. And I mean, you could have also chosen Porco Rosso, and there's a lot of different things you could have chosen. And I like one observation you made where it's like you were noticing how technology is always vilified in a way, and then nature is like kind of the we must always return to nature type of thing. And then he kind of pushes back on that idea as like, I mean, nature can be brutal. And I agree. And so does Miyazaki, which was why he had Nausicaa. So that was a weird omission, I think. I mean, I think you show Nausicaa in like some early footage and stuff. It doesn't seem like you ignore it completely. I'm not saying you have to talk about Nausicaa, but like that particular point of I don't know, it could be nature could be brutal too. I feel like that's missing in Miyazaki's work, and I'm like, no, it's not. And also especially in like Princess Mononoke, the boars are really not, the boars are not the most rational, and the monkeys too. They wanted to eat all the humans, right? And so there's certain aspects in that film where nature is depicted as this kind of like insane, kind of brutal, unforgiving type of thing as well. And Ashitaka is not just trying to communicate with humans and all those different factions and stuff, but the other side too, nature. And maybe I'm just kind of misinterpreting your point. I'm sorry for that. But I don't know. And so, I mean, it ended up being just kind of like talking about each one. I really liked the Wind Rises observations and talking about it in that way. And it's like, what do you think he would have been able to make imagine he was able to make like, planes for passengers and people to see their loved ones. Instead, he has to make weapons of war and things like that. I was like, that's really nice. But it was pretty good. Oh, one thing I also want to mention is it's a really impressive edit, like an AMV of almost type of with like the masking and like kind of transition of stuff. That was really impressive. Although it was so out of place at that point, it was sort of like, did you take that from somebody else, or was that you? There was just something about it, and it just was like that. Only in that one moment of the video, that was just sort of came off to me as just like, interesting. Anyway, cool video though. Thank you for the person who pointed my way towards that. It was interesting. Okay, now I've thought about the best videos of the week. one's worth I like these. I like these a good deal. And this first one's from Ermi. I think if I'm sorry, if I'm not sorry, I guess. I just feel like I've been talking about every one of Ermi's uploads, especially particularly the English, his English version of his channel. That's fine because I do think he is throwing really interesting stuff every time and not making kind of the same video, and is consistently making interesting points and like stuff that's worth talking about. So big ups to that. I'm very excited every time he uploads. Animating a fight scene, Madoka Magica Record and Hiroto Nagata, and he specifically is talking about that kind of little controversy in the Sakura community where these is really lavish, incredible webgen era animators, and these particular shots from Magica Record were just so stylish and over the top and crazy, but you can't quite tell what's going on. And he's kind of being a little more candid where it's sort of like, is this good animation or bad animation? And it's I really think that, you know, the solution he comes to is sort of, it really depends on the context. It's a case-by-case basis, which is the correct answer. And I like that the one he's focusing mainly on, he gives it, he says, like, you know, given here's the whole context and what's happening in the story and why this scene happens, and given that, it's probably important to know what's going on and that it has readability and that it's clear, so that that moment makes sense. Whereas another moment that's very similarly flashy and all over the place, kind of a little controversial for like, wait, what the fuck happened? What's going on? Right? That moment in that context, it's kind of good that they don't know what's going on, so long as you can tell the character is trying their best and doing well and succeeding in some way, and it's sort of this epic thing. As long as you get that message across, then it's cool, even if you can't quite tell what's going on. But in the other instance, it was not so strong of a choice. And that's the wording that I'm trying to use also in my Naruto video, where like, I don't want to designate something as bad choice or best, like good choice, because it ends up qualifying statements like that are a tiny bit reductive. I think it's good. It's fine to voice the opinion of like, well, I want to say something of the kind of and give an assessment of it, right? But then I think the wording you can say is that, like, as an artistic choice, because everything in this is like, they chose to do this and they went through with this sort of thing. And yes, you can say that there's time constraints and yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, there are choices here. And you can say whether something is an effective choice or a choice that leads to this, or even your own personal thing is like, I was disoriented and not in the way that I was comfortable with, or this made me feel like this sort of thing. And you can take however connotations you have from there. But to label something as bad or good, you know what I mean, doesn't help everybody. And also not everybody's going to agree, right? But I just really liked the discussion here and how more deep it was. We're talking about, I liked the mention of like, this scene was actually so kind of over the top that the Blu-ray removed frames from the animation to make it clearer. So that was really interesting. And it doesn't overstay its welcome, really short, 7 minutes, and it's really nice. I really liked the opposite. Some people could say there's more of a discussion to be had, but I think that's fine if this is sort of a good time to just kind of open the door and introduce that framing and that level of discussion, which I really appreciated. I really liked the video. It was awesome. I actually watched 2 hiding in public videos this week. The other one was the bland protagonist video, and that was pretty good. But I really wanted to highlight this hiding in private one, was continuing his Persona 4 Golden analysis about the Hermit, and this idea of what matters is up to you. And I just love this rumination. Really, he's talking about the Hermit and this Fox kind of side mission, which you don't need to do to complete the game. And a lot of people don't. He says how he played it he played the whole game like 2 or 3 times before finally deciding to try doing this. Oh, let's try this little side thing and see where it goes, right? And even exploring that aspect. And it's a whole side mission, and he's not explaining each piece. I really like that he focused on this one moment, and this one section of just like visiting this hobby shop owner. And apparently, I guess I don't get the full context. I never played this game. but apparently it's possible to just know this area exists, and you never see the hobby owner's face or his character or anything. It's just like a dialogue box, and then you go in and it's one room and you just see shelves, and it's empty shelves, and you're like, well, what the fuck is this? I'm like, well, whatever. And and even if you do complete that thing, it doesn't affect that much really. But hiding actually went through the effort of showing you all of these trophies that a lot of people never get to see. So there's additive value there. But I loved the rumination of just sort of like the hobby owner and him just like closing up shop, and it's like, even if I'm closing up shop, even if I'm not doing this for a career or profit or any tangible benefit, I'll still do the hobby. I'll still make models and still do what I do, just not in this official capacity. And I love that. And sort of just because I think there's the reflection in Hiding Talks was like, I haven't even released any of these videos yet, but like, I'm putting so much work into this, and it's this long journey, and this was like one of the last parts he wrote. I love the kind of the meta narrative here and his reflections on his creative process and his journey with this series, which is always kind of a really good trademark of Hiding, right? Where he's constantly very introspective and reflective about what he's doing almost at all times, really. It's really nice. But just this particular focus is just wonderful. It didn't feel kind of robotic and functional, like we were talking about. I don't know if you've seen the whole digest. I was ruminating how long videos I'm just sort of starting to be a little burnt out on. And I know big talk coming for the guy making a 3-hour Naruto video type of thing. But like, it feels like a lot of people are kind of bloating their times out by just recounting the whole story, or being as thorough as possible. And you are being thorough as possible, technically, but it's in a way that's like tasteful, and because this 14-minute video, you're mainly focusing on this hobby shop thing. But then I think another person who's trying to make the most thorough Persona 4 video, you would have gone through every single mission and try to find meaning in every single bit, and sometimes that thoroughness isn't interesting, or is just okay. But I love the focus here, basically, and the ruminations were wonderful. So I mean, I like the bland anime protagonist one too, but this was wonderful. Really, really great job. Yeah, look at the boy. Hey, Mr. Kotaku, Mr. IGN. Oceaniz had this video. I re-edited all of Naruto for my girlfriend, and it's doing really well, to the point where he, like, I guess doubled his Twitter following as well. And Kotaku reported on it, and IGN reported on it. Like, you've got to be kidding. I can't even think of the last time that's happened for anime YouTube. That's nuts. that's really something. But like, the first time I saw it with the Kotaku order, I was like, uh-oh, they snitched. You know how they do. You know what their MO is. I'm like, uh-oh. But that's fair. Careful, man. I feel for hopefully things are okay. And but the video itself, reflecting on all of the changes and things like that was really neat. I saw in the pinged comment that, like, when you talked about like the after credit scene that you created at the end, you did kind of revert back and made it less over like executed and the whole thing there. Kind of pedaled back on that, and it is also still kind of I liked all the amount of reflecting you did, where it's like, oh shit, I forgot this really important scene, or oh shit, this was more of a slog than I realized, so I should have taken more time really trying to find a solution and parsing it down, because it is, that it's frustrating, but it is tough. And those sorts of things. So I really liked those reflections a lot. And it was interesting to hear about without me, like, I told you about this on I actually talked about with him. We talked about Naruto for like an hour and a half out of a 2-hour podcast about Naruto this previous month on AniTube T, the podcast that's for my patrons and stuff. And where was I going with that? Shit. I'm sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. I have that, so that's nice. Shit. Yeah, no, that's what it was. I told him that like I didn't want to download it, and despite constantly seeing the pasteman that he keeps posting and deleting afterwards. You're posting it way too much. You're like, I will be forever, but you're posting it a lot. All right, and then your DM stopped working. It's like, uh-oh, the pressure, yikes. It's like, at this point, just get it out and then just put it on Nyaa at this point. If you're really going to be this liberal about it, just rip the Band-Aid off, dude. Otherwise, don't share it. I don't know what to tell you. That's just my 2 cents on it, really. But, like, what was the thing about it? Yeah. Basically, I didn't... Oh, yeah. I keep teasing, I'm sorry. I didn't want to like look too into your choices of, oh, I cut this part and I kept this part and this. I didn't want to go too much into the nuances of that because I find this project really interesting, and I would just spend a lot of my time just nitpicking and analyzing it in a way. So I don't want to spend. I don't. That's a time sink. That's a hole that I won't go down. Okay, but I still liked however kind of brief it was when you talked about it in this video, so I appreciate it. That was a good video. I really liked it. Congratulations, of course. Then my favorite video, I think, this week, I'd have to give it to Getinthemecha. Finally got to Rakugo Shinju, I see. And I actually really like that there's so much of it really intertwined with itself, with like the subject of Rakugo and its longevity and relevance, tying that to the anime itself, how like you're only getting to it now, and people's word of mouth have kept it around since it aired in 2016. Like a lot of seasonal anime don't get this sort of like longevity that Rakugo does, and it's due to its quality and stuff. And then you tied it as well to the mecha is dead meme and the sort of the thing where people talk about that, but it's not really relevant or that helpful because it's this capital. I like that you talked about this capitalist perspective of like, just because the quantity of mecha that have come out every year, therefore it's not dead. No, it should be more about the artistic idea, and are these mecha series still being talked about? And the answer is unequivocally yes. Ava's still being mentioned every time. Macros, people are still returning to these series that are so old. Gundam, and not even because of the new installments in the franchise, but people really are still talking and going back to the original 1979 series. And so that genre isn't dead ostensibly if it's being constantly in the conversation, and so I really liked that observation there. Interesting that you just really go full guns blazing about the spoilers in it. It's okay, I guess, because it's like the first step. I think all of it you can kind of see that's where it's going to go, because the first episode you just don't have the full context of it really, and you don't really spoil the specific things. But I don't know. That was fine, I guess, but like interesting choice to me at least. I love that observation, but yeah, it is also this first time where it doesn't feel like you're really noodling too much into the staff or anything, and not like that's a bad thing. I like that about your videos, and hardly anybody ever does it. So I love that perspective from you. But I just think it was kind of refreshing for this one time where I don't feel like you ever mentioned a single staff person this time. You actually just kind of talked about the show itself and this sort of metatextual analysis almost, and that was just really refreshing. And I love Rakugo Shinju. Just really good vibes, and you're great. This is great. Hell yeah, loved the vid, man. Really great job. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yep, that'll do for this installment of AniTube Digest. Thank you very much for watching. You guys are great. You have a great week. Yo, peace.